wobble wobble, oh wobble wobble, oh wobble wobble. Sounds like a Van Halen song. I had a take on this scientist's spiel on YouTube yesterday that kind of cooked my noodle, and his name is Wubbo Ockles, and I am firmly established in my belief that Paul, the apostle, wasn't messing around in Colossians when he said, be free from elemental principles. And is your gospel this good? Does your gospel dictate that this liberty that we have from the law of sin and death include elemental principles? I mean, laws of physics. Think of this. Gravity. Is your gospel that good that you are free from gravity? Oh, Lord. I am kind of reeling with this, and I'm looking at the whole parameter of life and the unfolding of our lives in kind of a new light that I did before, because of the gospel, but also because of some progressive revelation. And Wubbo Ockles cast some light on some of this, and he kind of springboarded off of Descartes, the old school philosopher. And I'm not ascribing to philosophies, and in fact, these Enlightenment thinkers were by and large probably pretty demonic, and I'm trying to unlearn a lot of their nonsense because they get you stuck in the head and don't release the spirit. But Descartes said, I think, therefore I am. And it sounds like a whole lot of nonsense that rebellious people that don't know a father or the affirmation from heaven have to justify their existentialism by thinking real hard instead of just receiving freely from Papa. But Wubbo Ockles took that further and it related it to these elemental principles the Apostle Paul talked about, because he said, whereas Descartes said, I think, therefore I am, he started relating to our relationship with time and gravity and defining our life in the context of motion. And he said, I live, thus I have it written down here somewhere. I thought, oh my gosh, what do I do with it? This is, okay, boom. This is my sticking point before. I almost had an epic moment before. I was on my way to work shooting this video, and I almost had an epic moment, and then I had a brain fart. This is the same spot. And here we go. Wubbo Ockles says, I live, therefore time passes. And he talks about time being a construct of our imagination. And it's a construct that the brain engages in order to justify our existence in relation to gravity. And it's called this state that we're in. He presented this scientifically, and he presented this in such a way that eggheads can try to wrap their puny brains around it. And he called it chronocentricity. And chronos is a Greek word. We get synchronicity from that word chronos. It just means time. It means a plodding along, a sequential, moment by moment, minute by minute, work, school, birth, school, work, death. Basically, if you're existing under chronos, a chronocentric reality, it is work, birth, school, work, death. You plod along and you punch your clock, and there's a progression of time. And it talks about the reason that time passes this way is the result of the brain reasoning and trying to justify and interpret our perception of gravity. And that when we're free from elemental principles, he was describing our fallen nature. He was describing that this relationship we have with gravity and this plodding along and being locked into the dimensions that we're in and being locked in to the elemental principles. I mean, when the Apostle Paul comes along and says you are free from the elemental principles, don't be bound by them any longer, is your gospel that good? that the laws of physics can bend because of God's favor on you. You don't have to think really hard and say, oh, therefore I am, because, oh, I had a thought. No, Papa is affirming this continually, and he bends the laws of physics in order to make known his love for you by signs and wonders. Signs and wonders. So we are in a new realm. When you have been set free from the elemental principles, if you've been set free from the law of sin and death, you are set free from chronocentricity, and you come into a place where time, you have a new relationship with time. There's another dimension where time responds to you differently, where you respond to time differently, where our concept of time isn't even anymore, because it's called kairos centricity. Wubbo Ockels didn't talk about kairos. He only talked about chronos, because the concept of time scientifically is pretty much, it's exclusive. They talked about what they can prove and what they can measure with their puny brains. Kairos isn't a plodding along. It isn't birth, school, work, death. Kairos is divine, epic moment. And this is the challenge that I'm leaving on this video. This is the revelation that I'm carrying away from understanding that we're free from elemental principles. It's this. We go from chronos centricity to kairos centricity. In other words, you being free from the elemental principles live in a continual abiding epic moment. Like in the movies, with theme songs, with glitter and firebombs going off all over the place. You know, the action and the drama, the comedy, and a cloud of witnesses. It even says we have an audience. We're in a movie. You're a movie star. You're a superstar. Because you are abiding in epic moments. You're abiding in kairos centricity, and you're a superstar by heaven's regard, because you're surrounded by a cloud of witnesses. You have an audience. The banisters of heaven are filled with those that have gone before us. We've come to Mount Zion, the church of the firstborn, and the innumerable company of angels. Boom! You got an audience. You're a superstar. The favor of God's upon you. He's nuts over you. He rejoices over you with singing. He dances and twirls around. You're the object of his desire and his affection, and he loves you that much in order that he will bend the laws of physics and drive diviners mad and give brain farts to scientists and experts, because his love for you is that much that it goes outside the boundaries of their perceptions and their measurements of the reality that we live in, because it's all chronocentricity according to what they abide in. But we're in epic moment. Welcome to kairos centricity.